Jeff, I'm super excited to have you on the show. Welcome to the Ripple Effect with Ray, Jeff. Can you share a little bit more about how and why you started Slightly Elevated?
Absolutely. I guess the why really comes down to two main things, family and passion. For years, I worked in roles that I was good at. I liked them well enough, but I wasn't deeply passionate about what I did. Along the way, my family faced some health challenges, and it forced me to really stop and take a look at how I was spending my professional time. Was I building something that mattered? Was I making an impact that aligned with my values? And the answer at that point was no. Helping people protect their wealth, and I wasn't really contributing a lot to the greater good, if you will. That experience really pushed me to reevaluate, and I realized that I wanted to create something that was much more rooted in health and wellness and in community. So at the same time, I was noticing a cultural shift that more and more people were looking at alternatives to alcohol, looking for ways to connect without some of the negatives attributed to that. Again, they still wanted to connect, celebrate, and relax, but they didn't want that hangover or the negative impact on their health. And that's really where the idea of Slightly Elevated came to life. I wanted to create a beverage that I was happy drinking, that my wife and I were happy about, and we figured this would really resonate with other people and we would find that group. And it really was about creating a healthier alternative, something that added value, the health derived or the hemp-derived cannabinoids, adaptogenic mushrooms, and the botanicals that leave you feeling good both today and more importantly tomorrow. For me, this wasn't just really a career move. It was personal, it was rooted in family, and it's something that I'm now truly passionate about.
Amazing. Well, I love that you also love your own product. I think that's super important, right? You started it because it was something that was near and dear to your heart, and then now you're kind of sharing that. What do you feel like has been something that's been shifting or changing in our industry, whether it's within I would say, yeah, NA industry, alcohol, cannabinoid, anything that you'd like to cover there.
Um, Alcohol specifically, there's just a significant movement away from it, whether it be folks of my generation consuming less or abstaining, or the younger generations just not even starting. It's been a massive shift. But beyond just the moving away from alcohol, there's been a lot of exciting engagement relative to how functional ingredients are moving really from a niche product or category into much more mainstream. So a few years ago, if you talked about adaptogens, nootropics, or cannabinoids, you were probably in a health food store or in an online forum. Now people are asking for them at grocery chains, at restaurants, and even their favorite bar. And consumers are much more informed, and I think they're much more intentional about what they're consuming. And they're seeking products that support both their health from a physical and mental well-being standpoint. Another major trend that we saw was really the rise of the sober curious lifestyle. It's not necessarily about never drinking again. It's about balance and choice. And you've got movements like Dry January or Sober October that really open the door. And now you see people carrying those choices into their everyday life throughout the year. And people just want options beyond alcohol that still allow them to feel good, feel social, and feel elevated. So, alongside that, there's a shift from this intoxication to what's the overall experience, being able to, again, feel good both during and after. And I think people want drinks that really fit into whether it be their yoga practice, a festival, or a family gathering. And they just don't want to feel weighed down by some of the negatives associated with how they might feel or some of the things they might do if consuming a little bit too much in the way of alcohol. So really, it's also community and connection are central to all of this. And it's not really about what you put in your glass so much, it's about the experience that you have with others while drinking it. So across all of this and beyond it, it's the transparency of what is in the product. And that's something that's also really important to myself, and it's really a non-negotiable. People want to know exactly what's in their drink, why it's there, and what it's doing for them. So I believe that brands can deliver on that clarity and trust are the ones that are going to win out in the long term.
There's so many things that you just mentioned that I think are so important to really highlight. And also just the shift away from alcohol and the experience that we want to have when we're in a group or a gathering setting. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think the mushrooms have been the functional mushrooms at least um, have been just more and more people are becoming more familiar with the health benefits that they can provide. And
Yeah.
then same thing with the nootropics and the adaptogens. And I just love that you're fusing them all together to create this, I would say, experience for people where they will actually walk away from it feeling more connected to themselves, more connected to the people around them, and actually remember the experience, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think alcohol can be such a liquid blanket, liquid courage, right? But it's not authentic. It's not real. It's something that like if they were to have like a GoPro strapped to their chest and look back on the night, they'd be like, why was I talking about that? Why was I saying that? Rather than actually being connected and conscious in
Hmm.
the conversations and the connections that you build.
Yeah.
So I think it's such an important topic and an important shift that we're kind of moving towards in today's society because I think for the longest time we've seen alcohol make its rounds and it's just so widely accepted and it's just so normal rather than
Yeah.
actually creating something different.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with one of my friends recently, and he was just asking me, "Why aren't you drinking anymore?" Because we would play golf together, and we would have some beers on the course and all. And I just told him I don't feel like it anymore. I have a good substitute here, and it's not just a substitute for the sake of a substitute that makes you feel good. This is a product or a category of products that really are adding health benefits as well. Lion's mane, I think, is probably the most recognized of the adaptogenic mushrooms, but we also utilize cordyceps as well. And being able to feel good today and feel good tomorrow, but be doing good for the body also and the brain is something that's important. As I age, my memory isn't as good as it was, so having these things certainly helps. And it's really been a good path, and it goes beyond the hangover, if you will. Even if I didn't drink enough that I was hung over, the next day I might feel dopamine depleted and I would just feel down. And that's something that I have noticed a significant difference in with these products is I just feel good the next day. Not even neutral, but good. And that's a big departure from what I was used to. And in that conversation with my golf friend, I kind of joked with him, alcohol is the only drug that you have to explain why you don't consume it. I said,
Yeah.
you don't have to explain to me why you don't consume cannabis or why you don't shoot up heroin. That's not even a consideration, but alcohol is so widely accepted and promoted that you truly do have to explain to people why you're not consuming it.
Right. Why aren't you drinking? Why
Yeah.
something like yeah, something wrong with you? Like I faced that experience on a number of occasions. I think it's such an interesting and funny concept that it's
Mhm.
just so like, why do you have to explain yourself? And
And
the
I want to be clear, we're not anti-alcohol. I mean,
right.
there are, people enjoy it. People can enjoy it responsibly, and I will enjoy a nice glass of wine if I'm having a nice dinner. But just having an alternative is a big deal. And I found that even if I wanted to consume less, when I found myself in social situations, I was reaching for a drink. And
Mhm.
now having an alternative that again makes me feel good now and later, it's a huge, huge improvement in my quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's wonderful. And what do you feel like within whether it be the industry or slightly elevated's world, what would you say has been working really well or what's been a little bit more frustrating?
Just having conversations with people and letting them know that this category of products exists is been huge. People are surprised and excited about it. We launched this drink at the end of July at a music festival, and we absolutely crushed it. People were excited about the product. It was refreshing during a hot day. It wasn't dehydrating. It just really fit what they were looking for in that moment to be uplifted, to quench the thirst, to kill the heat, and just being able to see the response when people are like, "Oh my gosh, you have something like that?" That's been probably one of the biggest exciting moments in launching this. The challenge is every industry comes with their share of hurdles, and we've certainly had ours. Education is probably the biggest. Again, going out there and talking, but it's not so much a hurdle, it's an opportunity for us. And again, when people learn that this is a product that makes them feel good and that it's good for them, they're excited to try it. People have certainly heard of THC, of CBD, of adaptogenic mushrooms in broad strokes, but their understanding often stops at those buzzwords. So they don't always know what the differences are. They don't really know how it's going to interact with their body or what makes one product more effective or safer than the other. So, we've had to take on the role of educator as much as product creator, breaking things down to them in a way that builds trust and confidence in both us and the products that we create. Regulation is another challenge. Hemp-derived cannabinoids are federally legal, but each state and even local municipalities interpret those rules in a wide variety of ways. And, that can create some challenges. But, it creates hesitation, especially for a retailer or a venue like a concert venue. But again, it gives us an opportunity to talk with them about their eroding revenues relative to alcohol because people are consuming less. It gives them a viable alternative as a vendor to recoup some expense and to differentiate themselves from their competitors who maybe have not embraced this yet. Um, you know, Certainly these business owners don't want to jeopardize the rest of their business. So we talk with them a lot about their local rules and regulations and why this is not going to threaten what's going on with them. So, we have to stay on top of the legal landscape. We have to make sure that we're compliant while also helping our partners understand that and stay in compliance. And then I think the final issue for us is really distribution and scaling. Getting our products into bars, restaurants, and onto retail shelves, it takes persistence because it's still a new territory for many of these operators. And behind the scenes, scaling means finding the right co-packers, the right supply chain partners, and the right distributors. So making sure as we grow that we don't compromise the quality of our product, making sure that that supply chain is fully engaged so that we can get the quality ingredients that we want to deliver to our products. So it has been a bit of a learning curve rather. And then, I guess there's the final challenge of personal balance. It's certainly not this industry or this business specific. Anybody who's building a business, as you know, there is this balance of work and personal life. So, this requires an incredible amount of drive and energy from myself and my partner and our loved ones around us who support us. But at the same time, we really believe in this and it aligns with the values that we're promoting. So, it means paying attention to my own health, my family, and my well-being as much as pushing hard to drive the business. So, each of these things are a challenge, but they also make us stronger, clearer in our focus and what we're trying to do, and it makes us more resilient. So, it forces us to build that foundation that can handle the growth.
So many important little nuggets in there, especially, talking about entrepreneurship and what that really entails and what that means for the work-life balance, but also the drive that it takes to show up every single day and continue driving the mission forward.
There's a quote, I believe it's attributed to James Michener, and it's called Master in the Art of Living. And it really is to the core of what we do. And it really just ends with um, I leave it to others to decide whether I'm working or I'm playing, because to me, I'm always doing both. And
Yeah.
that really is what allows me to really strike that balance is, if we're at a music festival, well, I'm enjoying the music and the vibe and talking about our cool products as much as I am working. It's that confluence of both, and it isn't this separation that I used to have in my 9 to 5 or 7 to 8 or whatever it really was,
Yeah.
where I worked and then there was this clear departure and I went home and there was this bifurcated world. Now it's just kind of a blending of them. And I'm able to really, strike that balance because work does feel very much like play.
So amazing when you find that rhythm, that space where you love what you do. And I think that's important as an entrepreneur, but it also becomes hard a lot of times to turn it off too. Like, the work stops when it doesn't stop when you close your laptop. It doesn't stop at a certain time. It's like, our phones a lot of times are hooked up to our email. We see the email come through at 9 p.m. We can't help but not respond. And yeah, it's like you're nurturing not only a like physical baby, but it's your business baby essentially. And so there's that constant feeling of wanting to make sure that it has what it needs to succeed. What would you say success or the dream looks like for you?
Honestly, success really flows back into what we were just talking about. I carve out a block of time first thing when I wake up and last thing before I go to bed that there is no scroll, there is no answering emails, there is no responding. That is my time to truly work on what's important to me, whether you talk about it in terms of manifestation, in terms of visualization, but those initial moments in the morning, really before I get out of bed, when I'm moving from theta to alpha and ultimately into beta wave state, that it's the best time for me to really focus on that creation. So I really try to frame my day with who do I want to be and how do I carry that into today? And then the corollary, the other side of the coin is at night I do the same thing, really look back on what were the positives from the day, where can I improve on things, but more importantly, what do I want to be tomorrow? And it allows me to really kind of bookend the day with this positive approach mentally, where I'm not in reactive mode, the mind is quieting, and I'm truly able to visualize what we want this business to be. So I think, that's in general terms, or how I approach it on a day-to-day basis to really create that framework so that those intervening 16 plus hours are productive and not all consuming and not reactive. They are about who I want to be in the world and the change I want to create. I want to live that change. But I think more specifically, as we look at the next couple of years, our vision is to make Slightly Elevated, the nationally recognized brand, a go-to name when people think about functional non-alcoholic beverages. I want us to be on shelves across the US and beyond. I want to be in bars, restaurants, athletic venues, concert venues, any place that people are connecting, we should be. Any place that people are consuming alcohol, we should be. And we want to be able to provide people with choices that they can make relative to their social life and at festivals and events. We don't just want to sell drinks, we want to be part of the culture around wellness and connection. And I think that also means being a trusted voice. I want people to look at Slightly Elevated and know that they're getting transparency, quality, and products that actually support how they want to feel. So it's kind of that innovation is going to be a big part of that. We'll keep developing more product SKUs and formats that fit into people's lives in a meaningful way. But ultimately, the goal is having a positive impact. I want us to help reshape the way people think about connection, celebration, and health. And if in 2 years, we've given people nationwide more options to feel good, to stay connected, and to live elevated without compromise, then I think we'll be right where we want to be. For us, it's about how many people can we help to find something that is better for them.
Amazing, Jeff. Thank you so much for highlighting that, sharing that. I'm really excited to hear what our audience has to say and share about your brand, your company. Where can people find you, find your product?
They can find us at liveslightlyelevated.com.
Amazing. Great. As you heard it, liveslightlyelevated.com. You can order, have those shipped, and such a pleasure to get to know you, Jeff. Thanks so much for hopping on here with me today.
Thank you, Ray. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for your time as well.